Hello and welcome to another episode of So Fly. It is April 14th. My name is Mitch. We've got Aldo.
Hi.
And we're back here recording
Wow.
another episode for you. Today
Back.
we're talking to a wonderful guest, Wills Donaldson from Colorado, from Pennsylvania, living in Colorado. We're going to talk to him. He's from Flylords. It's going to be a fun show. But what do we got going on in our lives before?
It is going to be a fun show, and it's not Wills Donovan, so don't listen to me on this show.
Donovan.
Pretty sure I screwed that up at one time. Sorry, Wills. I also screwed up something else. On our last show, I mentioned that something about Southern Ontario streams not being stocked with steelhead. I think I was just looking at the Ganaraska and then kind of extrapolated from that, but there is stocking that has happened here.
Did we get a mail in? Somebody mailed in?
Rob from Drift
flagged
it.
And, good catch, Rob.
Good catch, and
extra listen to the show.
Yeah, true. I thought he hated us.
Yeah.
I just want to offer a correction there, and thanks for pointing that out, Rob. Obviously, we want to get our facts straight, and yeah, doesn't mean you shouldn't love them.
What, if they're stocked?
Yeah.
Of course not. Fish is a fish.
Fish is a fish. A life is a life.
Fosh is a fosh.
You know? And, these are living things. I got to make a documentary called Living Things. That's all about stock trout and loving them.
Let's do it. What are you drinking there? Is that like Perrier?
Okay. It's water that I thought was going to be sparkling water. But I grabbed the mineral water. It's flat. Boy, my surprise when I opened the bottle.
Yeah, notes.
Yeah, notes.
Good. It's a glass.
So yeah,
bottle.
I'm making mistakes all over the place. I'm buying the wrong water. I'm telling people that there's no stocking happening in Southern Ontario, and I'm getting Wills' last name
Steelhead
wrong.
stocking.
Steelhead stocking. Yeah, and I'm getting Wills' last name wrong. So,
well,
sorry,
hey, I
everybody.
didn't. The steelhead stocking thing. I mean, I didn't know two ways about it necessarily. I mean, did Rob give you more deets about where they're stocking and how?
No, not really.
Just that there is some.
We can get into that in another episode about steelhead when it's steelhead season. You know,
we'll get Rob on here.
Yeah.
What's going on in our worlds?
Oh, well, this is coming out April 15th. Today is April 14th that we're recording this, but April 19th. Which is Saturday.
This Saturday.
7 p.m. It's Sotos, baby. It's the Southern Ontario Trout Opener Social. It's the 4th annual. This year we are hosting it at Coup de Tete. One Golden Avenue here in Toronto in the West End.
Yeah.
And it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be sick.
It's going to be a Squirmy Wormy Derby by Matt Martin.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prizes in the riffle raffle this year. We got some really cool...
Good auction prizes, too.
Auction prizes.
We auction items.
Yes, we have the A Day at the Franklin Club. We have a signed Mitch Marner jersey. Okay, come on. And we have a hat making experience by Coup de Tete. This is worth $1,000.
Yeah, we got
by the way.
Yeah.
And it's a full custom hat experience by Coup de Tete. So, and there's some art being auctioned off as well. The auction's going to be great. The raffle's going to be great. The Squirmy Wormy Derby's going to be great. Obviously, we're going to have some tasty drinks.
Yeah.
We're going to have music by DJ Dopey.
Yeah.
And when we're going to have all of y'all hanging out with us, which is great.
Maybe tattoos again, maybe.
And Ontario Streams is going to be on site as well to answer all your needs, answer any questions you might have about the work they do. And also, Andrew's a pretty cool guy. He's been on the show before. He'll be there. And if you want to get involved with Ontario Streams, well, this is a great opportunity because you can sign up for volunteer days with Andrew and learn more about the Ontario Streams volunteer days for 2025 at Sotos 2025.
Which are pretty fun. We did tree planting last year, and it was actually pretty rad.
Yeah, we did not dress properly.
No, it was so hot.
We were way overdressed.
Yeah, but it was kind of a sick workout in that sense because we were sweating insane amounts and just trying to get as many trees planted as we could.
Yeah,
but it was fun. I actually really enjoyed it, and I'd
like to do
it again.
Yeah, I'm stoked to volunteer more with them. It was good times.
Yeah,
and then the very next weekend we're going to be up in Bracebridge, Ontario, in Muskoka at the Muskoka Brewery with, I can't believe I'm saying this, Jim Baird,
The one and only.
the one and only. We're going to be doing a live
One
podcast
and
with
only.
Jim and a little meet and greet. It's all
Yeah.
to, one, to celebrate Ontario.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about adventuring and fishing in the backcountry, which is something we both obviously love to do, Jim and SoFly. And but we're also going to be celebrating the release of Jim's beer, which is the Windbound Pilsner. He did a short special run of it last year, but this year it's
Zesty.
It is zesty. It's a smoked Pilsner.
Oh my god.
So it's like you're right at the campfire in every can.
That's awesome. Campfire in every can. What?
What? But yeah, so Muskoka releases a survival pack every year, which is a mixed pack of some of their beers, and Jim's beer is in that survival pack this year.
Wow.
So we're celebrating the release of that. I think you can win some beers and some other stuff, and Jim's giving away some stuff.
It's gonna be awesome. And I
be
know
so
I'm
much
yawning. It's 'cause
2 p.m.
I need another coffee. I'm not yawning because I'm not stoked. I'm stoked. It's gonna be sick. Jim Baird,
2 p.m.
Live show.
April 26th.
Muskoka. It's gonna be awesome.
We have to get a place to stay, buddy.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out.
But I'm stoked.
That's going to be good. Make sure you come to that and Sotos on Saturday. Please come to Sotos. I think we can raise a lot of money this year for the troop. And
We've been doing a pretty good job of it in the past.
yeah, it's going to be super fun. 1 Golden Avenue, 7 p.m. this Saturday, April 19th, 2025.
Let's friggin' go.
What else do we have?
I don't care.
Yeah, me neither.
No, it's kidding. I definitely care. But we're so focused on our own events that we just want to promote those. But if you
got anything else coming down the pipeline, listeners out there, hit us up. info@sofly.ca, huh?
Exactly, yeah. Email us, info@sofly.ca, DM us on wherever you find us, and or even on YouTube. Hey.
There you go.
You need to see some educational events, go to driftoutfitters.com. There's tons of stuff happening there. There's tons of stuff happening at the Ottawa Fly Fishers, like we always mention. Check your local listings in terms of your clubs, whether you're Forest City Fly Club in London, Ontario, the Hamilton area, Fly Fishers and Tires if you're in the Hamilton area. There's the Scarborough Fly Fishing Club or something or other.
The Oshawa Fly Homies.
There's a lot in Ontario, which is amazing.
Brampton Angler Buddies and the friggin' just so many clubs. So many clubs.
The North Bay Noodlers, I don't know.
The Barry Bashers, yeah. So many cool fly clubs. Just
the Huntsville Hula Poppers.
That'd be sick. That's a sick name. Sick name.
I'd want to be a part of that club.
Wills Donaldson, everybody, after these words. Will Donaldson was born in Pennsylvania, but now lives in Western Colorado with his fiancée Kayla and their 2 dogs. He currently serves as the director of media account management at Fiska Media, parent company of Flylords Media. Very cool fun fact, in his early 20s, Wills actually spent time as a canoe guide right here in Ontario, fostering a deep connection with the outdoor adventures. An avid fly angler, hunter, and enthusiast of everything wild, Wills finds happiness whenever he's outdoors. His fly fishing journey began on a neighbor's pond and really began to blossom when he landed a rainbow trout from his local creek, a spot he's frequented since childhood. Although Wills grew up watching his father fly fish, he didn't truly embrace the art until his sophomore year of high school when he bought his first fly rod, an Orvis Clearwater 5-weight, which he treasures to this day. On any long outdoor adventure, Wills always ensures there's venison jerky or meat sticks packed in his bag, combining his passion for hunting with practical snackage. Wills is also behind the project Music and Fly Fishing, which is an exploration of the connection between artists and anglers. He sees striking similarities between creating music and fly fishing, particularly the dedication required to transform something awkward into something beautiful. Through this initiative, Wills aims to illuminate fly fishing from a fresh perspective, inviting new voices to share how wild places inspire their creative journeys. His first fish on the fly rod was a smallmouth bass, but his first time on SoFly is today. Wills, welcome to the show.
Dang, Mitchie. Dude,
I had to put that Drake thing in there, baby. I thought that was hilarious.
Dude, we can talk about that. That really caught me for a sec. Dude, what a wonderful intro. Thank you so much, guys.
Of course. Welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, Will. So good to see you, man.
Yeah, likewise.
So glad that you're on the show, I have to say, there's so many places to just jump into, but my first serious fly rod was a 5-weight Orvis Clearwater myself.
Huh.
So
I remember
two-piece.
I was in the 2-piece.
2-piece, 8.5 foot 5 weight.
Oh my gosh,
That's how you.
awesome.
That's how you know how old I am.
I know. I feel like the 2-piece rods are a treasure that have been lost to time. I know my old man's rods are all 2 pieces, and they're so beautiful. But then it's like when he wants to come visit, he's like, "Yeah, I have to check my rod," and
Yeah.
then there's like all these issues, and it's like, "Oh, dude, I feel so bad." But yeah, I remember I was actually sitting in my high school computer lab, which I guess was also our library, and I was working at a diner as a line cook at the time. And I had
Okay.
finally scraped together enough change to like buy the lowest entry level fly rod you could. And I was like, well, if I don't eat for the rest of the month, I can afford this rod.
Yeah.
So I bought it right then and picked it up from the Orvis that was down the street, and
Oh, that's
still
sick.
have it to this day, man. Great rods. Great
That's
rods.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Yeah. Yep. Still have mine.
Yeah.
They're indestructible, man. I don't know about the new ones, but the old ones were built different.
Yep.
So,
I think-
Wills, you grew up in Pennsylvania, but like, where are you calling in from now? Whereabouts are you located?
I'm currently in Western Colorado. The area is synonymous with the local river, so it's kind of an if you know thing. So I'm not going to give the exact area because I don't want to
Yeah.
burn
Keep
our
it
river.
secret, keep it safe. Yeah.
Even though I think most people who have ever fly fished probably know exactly where I am. But yeah, we're right on the Colorado. Here, I moved out here. I think it's been about a little more than 5 years now.
Oh wow.
Okay.
But yeah, I finished up school and then got a call from Jared, who I was like in at Flylords, who I was interning with at the time. He was like, "Hey man, do you want to move to Colorado with me and build this company? Like no questions asked." I was like, "Yeah." And then so I finished up school, and then 10 days later hit the road, and I've been out here since.
Damn, that's crazy, man. That's a pretty cool journey. Well, we
That is-
definitely want to talk about like, how you got into Flylords and that whole thing because
Totally.
and the internship and stuff because like that's pretty cool. Obviously, Flylords is a beast, and everybody in the fly community knows it. And you guys make wicked stuff. But
Oh, thank
before
you.
we get into all that jazz, why don't we talk more about the Clearwater and the smallmouth and like how you got into fly fishing back in Pennsylvania?
Dude, totally. Yeah, it's a funny story because as you mentioned in your amazing intro, my old man, he loved fly fishing, total trout nerd, super dedicated to the sport. He fishes like 3 flies and still gets it done. So,
Yeah.
one of those older guys that are stubborn, but for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So he was always kind of pressuring me. He's like, "Hey, this is really cool. You should get into it." And I have been fishing since I could remember, probably before I could walk.
Yeah.
Throwing a spin rod, throwing, little spinner baits and stuff like that. And he had taught my younger brother to fly fish. So I was like, cool, he got that out. Like I can just kind of keep doing my thing. I remember one day he was like, "Why don't you try this?" And I was like, well, this works just fine. So
Yeah.
I don't know why we're trying to overcomplicate things.
Yeah. What are we doing?
But it was in high school. I was honestly in middle school, actually. A bunch of my buddies, this was before any of us obviously in middle school could drive. So
Yeah.
a bunch of my buddies and I started like raiding golf course ponds sometimes at night. I feel like I'm far enough away from that I can criminalize
Yeah, it's okay
myself.
now.
But we would do anything just, to fish. So like we would walk to the local golf courses and try to fish there, or the local creeks that had nothing in them, or just ponds in people's backyards, and like beg for permission. And but after a little while I was like, this is really cool, but I feel like I've kind of hit like a wall. And was starting to get like, I was really into the gear. I was really into like just the idea of trout specifically. And it kind of like rung in the back of my head. Like, it was like, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. So this might not be the first time or last time I make a parallel, but it was like the Obi-Wan voice. It was like, "Luke, use the fly." And it was like my old man's voice. And so it was so great. And then, so I hit up my buddy, funny enough, O'Gray Brown, shout out, still a very good friend. And there was a local pond right behind my other buddy's house that we would fish at all the time. And he's like, "Well, come meet me. We'll bring my like my $10 fly rod, and I'll teach you how to cast. And I'm finally, after like fumbling around forever, luckily there was no trees or anything, finally like felt a cast actually go, like line actually shoot. And I was like, oh, this is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And then he was like, just wait till you catch a fish. And it was actually that same day that we were throwing woolly buggers in this bass pond, and I hooked like a small, 1-2 pound smallmouth. And yeah, right then, I know it's so cliche to be like, I was hooked, but it's, genuinely like immediately as soon as that connected, and, I felt the pressure of that fish, and, you're holding the line as it wants to escape the rod. Like it was done. I knew that this was something I was going to have to dedicate my life to. And obviously like taking that back home, I was like, hey dad, I think I like fly fishing. And that was like, he was like blown away. It was music to his ears. Like it definitely solidified our relationship more and built another pillar of, friendship with me and my brother. So just all of that culminated. And that was like how it all happened.
That's cool. Yeah.
I wonder, this thought just occurred to me, but obviously there's no way to know because you're either in one bank or the other. If you've never fished before and you catch something on a fly rod, does it feel as
more interesting?
Does it feel more or less interesting than when you're used to catching on a spin rod? Because I've spin fished and then fly fished. I don't remember having that same experience. You catch your first fish on a fly rod, you're like, okay, this is way different. And I think it was a smallie too, or a pike. And I was like, okay, well, this is like way better.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Or maybe you're just like, oh, this sucks, and you just stick to spin fishing. But like, but yeah, I wonder if because you start in a certain way, you appreciate because you've fought fish in a certain way, or you've interacted with fish, I should say, in a certain way for so long that when you get this new experience, you're like, oh well, I have to go down this rabbit hole for sure.
I feel like, and I love that question, and I feel like maybe it would be cooler if a fly is also your first fish, just because, and I'm generalizing here, like I give so much credit to like spin anglers and all that. Like it's a beautiful thing. I still love to throw a spin rod.
Same.
Yeah, like come on. Right?
Yeah,
but I feel like the barrier to entry before it feels like right and before you can probably even do anything is probably higher. So if it's the first time you're throwing a fishing rod and it's a fly rod, like I feel like you're probably going to struggle a lot more off the bat than just like, okay, hold the bail open, throw it, close it, let the bobber sit there with a worm. This is like, who knows? I mean, who knows? It could be a sunny pond and it's all the same, but it's a good question, man. It's thought provoking.
You grew up, where you grew up, like, would have been like kind of trout heaven. Like, there's a lot of great trout fishing in Pennsylvania, right?
Totally.
And where you were too?
I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania, kind of right outside of Philadelphia, like 35 minutes, 40 minutes outside of Philly. And that area per se, like, wasn't the best fishery. We had plenty of stocked streams, and that was super fun to learn on. There were a couple wild streams, which had like very small and a few substantial, but some very small, like brown trout and brook trout, which was super cool. But that area for me was like, it was good. And then in Pennsylvania, what I think a lot of people associate with is like almost central Pennsylvania. So you go towards like Penn State College.
State College, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Spring Creek.
Spring Creek. Yeah. And it there's a spot literally called Fisherman's Paradise, which is like a fly fishing only section. And that area is like, I remember going there for the first time and just like changed my world. Not to say there's not a million different great fisheries,
sure, of course,
and well outside of trout too in Pennsylvania, but like, it was that spot that really got me like inspired, and very proud to be from Pennsylvania too, which I am.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so many great fly shops.
Totally, man.
I haven't been unfortunately since, I don't know, probably pre-pandemic, but like going to TCO and like fishing Spring Creek and all the great little creeks around, streams around there. It's just like, It's an awesome little pocket of like fly fishing culture, you know?
Yeah. What I'll
Yeah.
always say about the East, and some people call it the Northeast, is that there's so much history there.
Mhm.
Obviously, like I grew up literally finding like cannonballs from the Revolutionary War in my backyard.
What?
Damn.
That's
Um
crazy.
insane, dude. Insane. We had like an old collapsed like blacksmith shop on our property that like
Damn.
was like they were making like horseshoes for cavalry, or what was that in the Revolutionary War. And so there's so much history and so much age to it, and that reflects in the fly shops. Like some of these fly shops were opened like very early 1900s, some even earlier.
Wow.
Damn.
Some have come and gone, but like there are some remaining that are just like, whoa,
So much
this is
history.
a serious step back in history in a really cool way. And the
That's-
guys at TCO are the best. Like they're
Oh,
awesome.
so friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so friendly. It's so great. And you know, you have like icons of the sport, like Joe Humphreys have come from Pennsylvania and stuff. And you know, like it's, yeah, I mean,
I got to get down there, man. I have
yeah,
been.
dude, you really do. I mean,
It's
Anytime
on
you
the
guys
list.
want to come through,
Yeah.
let me know. I'll make a trip back home.
it's really not,
That'd be cool.
honestly, it's about as far of a drive as Temagami
Yeah.
from
Yeah, so
Toronto.
very nice segue. Very nice segue indeed.
Love
Because
it.
how did it was Temagami, right? That's where you were canoeing. Pretty
Yeah.
much that was the area.
Ish. Yeah. So crazy. It's so funny. Like, for the viewers' background,
Yeah.
when I first met you two, I think it was at a trade show.
The Denver Fly Show last year. Yeah.
Yeah, Denver Fly Show.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are, from Ontario. That's so sick." I used to guide on this little lake, Temagami, and you guys were like, "We know that place." And for me, that's like second home.
Yeah. That's crazy,
so
man. It was such a weird small world, you know. I got the sweater on
crazy.
for you today, Temagami, baby.
Oh, I love that place.
I know.
Yeah,
I was
so when
actually.
did-
I
when
mentioned
did
I was
that-
digging through my I'm like I couldn't find my Temagami t-shirt. I was gotta wear this for the Wills podcast.
Oh, I
right?
should have worn mine, man.
Such a crazy it's like a weird coincidence. Like when did you start going up there, and how and why?
Oh man, so, and it's funny, it kind of does like relate back to my whole fly fishing like timeline too. I've been going up to Temagami since I was like 4, I think.
Wow.
So my dad worked with a guy who kind of like became his mentor. His name's John Fraser.
Okay.
Still very close family friends to this day. Amazing person. And he has these 2 little cabins on islands that are, about like half a kilometer apart. And he offered 1 year for our family to come up and stay at like one of these cabins.
amazing.
And it kind of just became this tradition of like every other summer we would go up and stay there for like a week. And it's, as you guys know, at least especially how it used to be, like Temagami is 0 cell service, 0
Yeah.
internet, like nothing. There's
Yeah.
nothing. So that was for me as a kid where I really fell in love with like the real natural world, like
Mhm.
really being outside, waking
Mhm.
up to the fog on the water and the loon calls and,
Yeah.
moving
man.
around in self-propelled boats that
Yeah.
we call canoes. And all of that. And it's just it was so raw back then. And it's been a little bit more developed recently, but
For sure.
that's where I really fell in love with it. But there's this camp up there, which, I want to preface, like, I have to call it a camp because it is, summer camp.
Yeah.
But it's it is a canoe camp that is focused in bringing boys and girls into the true like wilds of the world and
Yeah.
teaching them formidable skills that strengthen them as people and as canoe trippers. That is called Keewaydin. So John Fraser's son, Johnny Fraser, who is now the co-director of the camp, total badass guy. Through them, I kind of learned about this, and my folks were always like, when you turn like, I think it was 13 or so,
Yeah.
they're like, if you want to go to this place, like, we can sign you up. And
Amazing.
it was cool because it's like, you guys have been on the lake. every now and then you'll just see this like fleet of like 6 or 7 green canoes paddling, and they're in unison and like they're going somewhere very intentionally. And it was always cool to see that. And I'd heard so many stories, and the base camp is located on Temagami. And so I was always like mesmerized by that. So when I turned 13, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And my folks signed me up, and I went there my first summer, and I hated it so much. I deeply to my core hated it. I was like, there's bugs everywhere. We're working hard every day. Like, this isn't a summer camp. Like, you do activities. You go there, you get outfitted with tents and food rations. They give you a very heavy wooden boat. And then there's a guide and like some other staff, and they're like, cool, go on a canoe trip. And you do that, and it's hard work from like dawn till dusk, but in like the most fulfilling, enriching way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I remember my first year, I was just like, this sucks. I can't wait to get out of here. And then the year after that, like kind of in the fall and winter and spring, I was like, okay, I guess that wasn't that dumb. Like maybe I could like try it one more time.
Yeah.
So I went back again, and I was like, no, this is kind of dumb. Like, I don't like this. This is hard. Like, what am I doing? I should be hanging out and watching TV and, doing nothing. And then the second I got home that time, I was like, damn, I really miss QA.
Right.
Like, I really wish I was in a canoe right now, and wish I was like living off, the land and baking bread and like, taking my camp down, before sunlight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is canoe tripping in general. Yeah. You're like, what am I doing? And then you get home and you're fun, like, right? That rocked.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool because that camp was established in, oh God, I'm gonna get crucified. Get it wrong. Yeah, it was established
1893. It's the world's
1893.
It's the world's oldest canoe tripping camp.
Imagine
if anyone's watching
camp.
This that tripped with me, I knew that. I promise.
Well, the crazy thing about, like everybody knows, Temagami is for this kind of inauspicious place, 4.5 hours north of Toronto.
Right.
It's kind of one of the canoe tripping meccas of the planet, which is really kind of interesting. Yeah. Like the other camp, Wanapitei, that you keep hearing when you're up there. To your point, like you're on the lake or you're in the area, you see the shuttles, you see the shuttle vans go by with Keewaydin or Wanapitei canoes, or you see the fleets
Wobbin,
of canoes, or exactly. So you start, it's baked into the culture of the area 100%.
Totally.
I think Wanapitei's been there since the 30s or something, like this is, it's amazing. That's so cool that you did that. When I heard about, because we started going to Temagami in like 2016, 2017, and I tripped in Algonquin as a kid, but man, when I heard what was going on at these camps, I was like, man, that would have been cool.
It's nuts, and it's cool. The reason I even reference the founding date is because when it was originally like kind of coming up, if you will, like after it got its bearings underneath it, and this is kind of like it is, but it wasn't, but it was type of history where it was a lot of things. But one of the things it was considered when it was founded, it was like an alternative for war. It was like, young boys are not going to war, so they need something to keep them strong, and
right,
so they know how to survive in the nature.
Yeah.
And while it's definitely it was literally like, okay, cool, we're not fighting any wars, like you should go do something,
put you into the backcountry
like that. And so it's obviously gained a lot of nuance since then, and like
for sure
softened up around the edges, but we're still tripping with heavy cast iron and iron pots. We're tripping with wooden canoes that are 4 times as heavy as Kevlar's. Like, we're doing all the same things the way it was done from the very start.
You're tump strapping those fucking boxes on your head. What the hell are those things called?
Wannigan.
Wannigans,
right? Those wood, like those wooden.
Yeah. Our buddy Eric, who owns Temagami Outfitting, he's like, nothing's better than a Wannigan. We're like, dude, I'm pretty sure a barrel is, but okay.
Nothing's worse than a Wannigan either. You get like this bite called a Wannigan bite on the small of your back, like from it just thumping against your back, because it's not meant for your body. And it always gets like so bloody and raw by the end of the summer. It's nasty.
There's something kind of badass and cool about that adventure, though, especially when you're like a kid. Like, I mean, that's like heaven in a way. It's hard when you're there, but later it's that type of fun you look back on, right?
Because of the pandemic. Well, we were going up to Temagami Outfitting all the time because it wasn't open and our buddy owned it, so we were just hanging out up there. And a lot of the
so fun.
A lot of the shuttle services for Wanapitei and Keewaydin shut down, but Eric bought 2 vans and was like, "I'll do them." And because of that, we learned about. I'm getting to a point here. Because of that, we learned just how far some of these trips were going. You'd drive kids for like 3-4 days into like northern Quebec, and they would drop them off and be like, "Okay, make it back to Temagami."
Yeah, we would go up to like,
it was wild.
There's like Loch Icebound that we would put in, which is like literally you take like the Trans Taiga up, and then the road. The reason we're putting in there is because the road just ends. Like there's no more road, and it's literally like signs that are like turn back now, like no outlet, like winter conditions, you will die. Like it's very serious. And we're just like going out there, and then it's like, cool, we'll see you in 8 weeks. And we'll like paddle up to Hudson's Bay and do that, and then try to find a way home, which is awesome. But
that's crazy, man.
And it was kind of that like got me, in the end. I was describing how much I hated it, but third time around I went. And the more you go and the older you are, you can go on like longer, harder trips in more remote territory, like what we were talking about. So like third year, I'm up in Quebec, going down a river called the Sakami. And then I was like, this is sick. This sucks. And it's so hard. And I haven't seen the sun in 2 months, but this is sick. The fishing was incredible. And then, finally you do one more and you're going to Hudson's Bay and you're paddling a wooden canoe on the ocean, and like beluga whales are like coming up next to us. And,
oh my God, that is so
crazy.
sick.
At that point I was like, this is the coolest thing I will have ever done. And as a kid too, I think, kids are kind of, this sounds ridiculous, and it also is a very privileged perspective. I'd like to preface that. But like kids are, for the most part, deprived these days of real danger. Don't get me wrong. These camps there's a reason they've been around for over 125 years. Like they know how to handle this stuff, but it is still like real circumstances. There's real lightning, there's real floods, there's real like hikes, there's real bears, there's, all this stuff. And I think kids are so deprived of like a hard trek that is chosen difficulty, as opposed to like difficulty that's put on you against your will. And it's so enriching. So by the time I was done that, I was like, I want to be a guide. Like I need to give this to kids. And I was a guide for 3 years.
Amazing
for them. Would have done it 100 more years if I could.
But then, life comes up, which actually, we keep maybe unintentionally, but intentionally getting through your life here.
Maybe before we get to that, I mean, I just want to say, like, you would have seen some of the most amazing parts of Ontario, like the province on Canoe, like that north. That's like the dreamiest place in my mind, like
Agreed.
That northern Ontario. It's so sick. And you would have seen so much of that.
Yeah, a lot of northern Ontario and western Ontario, which was cool. That was like really remote. Like I remember at one point I like wrecked a canoe on like in a rapid, like serious scaries. It definitely was the first time I was like, oh, water is really powerful. And so we had to backtrack for like 5 days to get another canoe from like an outpost we had.
Oh man,
that was so that was like my first experience with like, oh, we're really remote. And then going over to Quebec, and then eventually like going north up to Hudson's Bay was just like got to see the best parts of Canada for sure.
God,
made me very much fall in love with your country.
Well, this is like most interesting man in the world type shit, dude.
Hey, listen, man.
That's why he's drinking a Dos Equis. This whole thing has been a Dos Equis ad for 29 minutes.
Oh, Yingling, baby.
Yeah. Talk about North, the beer of the East.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Okay, so then
beer.
I would have done it for 100 years, 100%. That's super cool. Maybe
Yeah.
go back to it one day. Would you go back
I
to
hope
it?
so. That's
Well-
like the dream.
Wills
Yeah.
and I, after we knew that, and then we were lucky enough to fish together in Ascension Bay, there's this thing pinned in our life where you're coming back up here. All of us are going on a canoe trip.
Attaboy
100%.
Muscat next year. Just saying.
Oh yeah, actually,
I'm so
yeah,
down.
yeah. We'll talk about
Oh.
that later. Not on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
But we have a potentially very cool thing coming
Yeah.
up next year.
Oh.
That could be a cool thing to bring you on. But yeah, okay, that's so cool. I mean, it's so random.
So wild. Yeah.
I mean, having help open the bar at the Outfitter, I got to meet most of the people on the lake, and honestly, most people were from Pennsylvania.
A lot of Eastern people.
Yeah,
A lot of Eastern United States people.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not gonna say very few Ontarians. Obviously, there's a lot of people from Ontario, but most
Very
people,
accessible in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Like you can drive up
yeah,
and
most
Yeah, it's like a
people were
2-day
from-
road trip.
But most
Yeah.
people, like not even nobody from New York, or very few people from New York. It really was Pennsylvania, which is really interesting. Yeah, really, really, really cool.
so you come back from paddling the world, and then how do you what's next? Is that when the internship stuff comes about, or what happens next?
Yeah, that's funny. I did mention like I would do it for 100 years if I could. And it was tough. It was my junior year of college. I was officially addicted to fly fishing, like fully. It was all I could think about.
Nice.
All I did. I got a lot of a good fix, like up in Canada. One of this guy, Robbie Tessar, who actually lives down here in Steamboat. He really like taught me a lot while I was up there, and I brought that down, and that definitely fueled the addiction. But I essentially was kind of in a world where I was like, well, I don't have any like real marketable skills in terms of like getting like a job down here. So like I should probably figure something out. And I'd always wanted to work in advertising. I graduated, with a English degree and a minor in advertising and marketing. And I knew that was always the route I wanted to pursue. But again, I wasn't like specialized in anything. So I was like, I guess this probably has to be the year that I get like an internship gag. Funny enough, over the winter, I got like a media internship with one of my Kuwaitan connections,
Cool.
Max and Jarecki, who took a big chance on me. I was at a fun company called Fuck Jerry. In New York.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome.
It was so wild. It was like right before this like Firefest scandal happened.
No way. Okay, yeah.
So I had that on the resume,
God,
and then
fuck
that
Jerry.
summer, I was like, damn, okay, I should get this internship. I was essentially set up with this radio network to like do ad buying and stuff like that. Was like pretty much signed on. Started to do a bunch of free work for them. They're like, yeah, do this for us, and we'll
Right.
send you your contract at some point.
Classic.
Sent them like a bunch of stuff. They ghosted me. So
Oh,
I was like, this sucks. I just want to
Yeah.
be canoeing. I just want to be fishing. So I hit my buddy, Nick Aravello up, who was at the time going to Penn State. And I was like, dude, this stinks. Like, I'm having a bad time. I want to come out and fish for a weekend. Is that cool? He's like, dude, absolutely, come through. We got an open couch. So I went out to Penn State that weekend. We went and fished. It was great. And I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, Flylords used to do the like Snapchat takeover.
mhm.
Were you guys ever hip to that?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I just was never a big Snapchat user,
It
but
was a
yes,
short-lived
yes,
thing. Yeah.
I do remember that. Like, yeah,
It was super
that
fun.
era of Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It was like right before Instagram was like really big. And
Mhm.
so it was super fun. So I was like, we always watch these. Let's call in and see if we can maybe do one around here.
Yeah.
So we like hit up the email associated with it. I'm like, hey, I'm in Penn State. I really want to do a takeover. Like, I think it'd be super cool. And the guy who's kind of on the other end of it, his name, Colin Turch, we called him. And he was like, we're booked up for the week. Sorry, but I am at Penn State too and would love to see this area covered. That's great. And so I was like, oh, dude, do you want to like go fishing with us tomorrow? Like, it'd be great to meet you. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we went out the next day, met up with him, like the nicest guy. went fishing, caught a couple fish. He caught like a huge like sucker, which was hilarious. And I was kind of just talking to him about, I was set up for this internship and now it fell through and I really want to work in marketing and I love Flylords and all that. And he's like, well, we're hiring writing interns for the summer, the spring, summer, if you want me to like float your resume, I'm happy to. And so, this connection that was like made through fishing and on the water.
Yeah.
I went through the interview process and finally got a call from Jared in my like apartment. And he was like, yeah, if you want to write some articles for us, like we can start you like $50 a week. And I called my brother. I was like, dude, I'm going to be writing for Flylords. Like,
That's awesome.
We were so stoked about it. And that's kind of how it all started.
That's cool. That's cool. And then it turned into you moving to Colorado.
Yeah. I kind of just like expressed to Jared and like he took a huge chance on me because I had like that one internship. And outside of that was like my main business experience. So he was like, you're a decent writer. And I kind of hit him up. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to move into like the marketing and advertising side of things. And he's like, well, if you want to try like doing some media buy selling, like that's a place that, we kind of need help in. And so it was actually when the Joe Humphreys movie Live the Stream was coming out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
I went and saw the screening. I loved it. I was like obsessed with the movie. And I, essentially just walked up to the director and the producers and was like, hey, would you guys want to like advertise this movie on Flylords when it comes out? Having no idea what I was doing. And they're like, yeah, let's meet next week. We can talk about it. And ended up like, selling them on a content media deal. And they're the best people. And that was kind of my start and just kept doing that. And then COVID kind of rolled through and, I wasn't really I was a senior in college at that point, which I know ages me. I'm like a baby. But I was like still working with Flylords and was able to do a lot more work. And that's kind of when the call from Jared came. He was like, yeah, you want to move to Colorado? Like, I'm going to do it. You're welcome to come along. You can live in the guest room. I was like, sick. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That
was that.
That's cool. Awesome. And so now your title is?
I'm the Director of Media Account Management.
Rock and roll, buddy.
You did it.
Good job, man.
Thanks, man.
Well, you're good at it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. We're all sort of in this world, Well, Mitch is definitely in this world. But I'm in the, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I think
super fun.
I think it's like coming from somebody who ran teams and was in charge of teams. When you have somebody who comes up to you and says, "I want to do this with you," that's
probably a good sign.
That's 98%, at least for me, what I need from you.
100%.
And like the rest can be trained. And you're going to make mistakes and you're going to succeed. But I think that drive is really, because you have to, when you're part of a small startup, you have to want to do it.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And it was and
it's going to suck. Some weeks, months are going to suck.
Totally, man. Just, like any line of work. And it's definitely been like scrappy. And it's funny, we're like 11 years old now as a company technically, but we're still like kind of in startup mode and kind of figuring things out. I think some people, maybe I could be wrong, but I think some people think we're way bigger than we are. But in reality, it's like just this group of people that really love fishing and know that we have to like work and do something that makes money. But ultimately it's just a fuel passion of like, we want to be able to fish. We want to meet cool people that fish. We want to tell stories. That's kind of our like main driver. And we want to champion conservation. And, that's like all of that behind you, being able to like sit back on that at the end of a long, shitty day of 11 meetings and, a couple no's on this and a couple no's on this. And this is over budget and this needs to be done by tomorrow. And it's like being able to look back on that and being like, oh, but this is what my core tenets are of like working here is like, I
could sit back and be like, wait a second, what's going on again? Oh yeah, it's the coolest thing ever.
I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do. Very lucky.
And then all of a sudden, you know, you might find yourself on I don't know, a skiff in Mexico with rolling tarpon around you and some asshole Canadian being like, come on.
Dude, yeah, I should have had you. Yeah, that was such a fun day, man. That was such a fun day. So apparently though, for background, Aldo and I went on a trip to Mexico last year.
Yep.
Hosted by my lovely fiance Kayla. Amazing,
Kayla Lockhart. Yep.
amazing
Kayla Lockhart.
gal.
Had her on the show a couple times.
Couple times now.
She
Rocks.
my muse, my flame. She's amazing, but yeah, she set up like this trip, this hosted trip that she does every year, and me and Aldo spent the first day out on the boat. I'd never been tarpon fishing before, so he was like, "Go ahead, do it! Like you got this, man!" And we were in this like little section of mangroves, like super compact, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there's a rolling tarpon! Like just put the fly right in front of its face and strip." And I was like, "Cool!" First cast, mangrove, like deep in it.
I mean,
too.
it was. It was not easy at all. It was awesome though.
The whole day kind of went like that. The whole trip kind of went like that.
It was it was one of those trips where just like, you know, we just had bad conditions.
Yeah,
So
nothing
it was
really
just kind of a
worked
grind.
out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we got some
But we had
bonefish and had a great time.
We had such a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
it
awesome.
looked awesome.
It was
Um,
awesome.
So you make tons of wicked stuff with Flylords, you know, just talking about like, you know, how it's awesome. 'Cause
Storytelling and
you get to be
whatnot.
creative, you know, you get to make stuff. So what this most recent project, obviously you guys have so many over the years and on the go at all times, but music and fly fishing. What is music and fly fishing? What is this one?
Music, it's awesome. And I appreciate the chance to talk about this because it's such a passion project. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. And, you know, I am very inspired by music. Like if it's a 5-minute trip down the road to the grocery store, like I'll spend 10 minutes queuing up the right song for the drive. Or like every time, you know, I'm doing anything, I have to have music. Like I love music. I'm not the I listen to everything guy, but I'm close. And so that was always a big part of it. And I play a little bit of music, like very amateur, sounds not great, but like I strum the guitar.
I
every
wouldn't
now and
say
then.
that. You got a pretty good voice, brother.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I've had the opportunity to somehow slide in on a few like coffee house shows, and that's like the most of it.
Yeah.
But like especially realizing that it was kind of this like other passion.
Mhm.
And so for a long time, I've kind of just viewed it as like my passions all align in a very similar manner where they all have a certain structure where it's like when you look at them, not when I'm doing them, but when you look at someone who's really good at doing those things, you see this like beautiful thing. And it's mesmerizing and it's inspiring. But what you don't see is to get there, it is so much work. It's so difficult. It takes so much time, commitment, money, sweat, tears, all that. And so I kind of, realized this like structure of things that I love, specifically fly fishing and music, or music and fly fishing, share this sort of duality. So music and fly fishing is a series that explores the confluence of art and the outdoors. Our goal is essentially to expose people who are unfamiliar with fly fishing to fly fishing, and people who are unfamiliar with certain musicians to their work. And what we seek out in putting this together is to find musicians who have some sort of tie to obviously music but also fishing.
Mhm.
Some more than others. Like went fishing with this country artist Ian Munsick a couple months back. He's a great guy, like super nice. He was literally like, "Yeah, I'm fishing today, and then tonight I got to go play Red Rocks." I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
tight, sick." And then there's guys like Colby Acuff, who was the first appearance on our first official episode, who used to be a fly fishing guide. So it like ranges so drastically from experience level, but ultimately, we're just looking for people and looking to tell the stories of like how did these two things come to be, and how do they inspire one another within this single individual, because there's so many different ways, as you guys know, like that fly fishing inspires and then it comes about. And It's obviously the same with music. So it's been a really cool opportunity to be able to show that.
Yeah, I like dig that. It's a cool idea. Like when you said like in the bio we had that like the similarities between creating music and fly fishing, particularly the dedication required to transform something awkward into something beautiful. Thinking about it as awkward, learning how to fly fish or play music, it is pretty awkward,
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah.
cool way to think about it. Because it's hard. You hear it's hard, it tests you and all this stuff, but it is kind of awkward. It takes so much time, so the parallels are really unique.
Yeah. I think that awkwardness is like a really beautiful thing, and it takes you back down to your like humanity. It's a
Mhm.
forced humility. I think you give a guy who or gal who's just like really good at one thing, say they're an amazing rock climber, and you put a guitar in their hand, they're going to be stumbling around the fretboard like a newborn baby.
Yeah.
And it's like it's this humanizing thing where it's like no matter who you are, no matter how smart you are or intuitive or good at something, like when you start something like playing music or like fly fishing, it's going to be awkward. And
Mhm.
so like trying to extract the humanity in it all is kind of where like the bones of this story lie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And we've all had those moments on the river where we're like, no one's around, or we hope no one's around. And we're like, even when we're like good at it, like early season, and you're like, you feel like you're in a movie, you're like, this is like a movie, man. Like the water's perfect. And you'd make casts or you tangle in the stupidest way and you like torque your gear and just like so awkward. And it's
Yeah.
like, God, I really hope no one's watching, It's like,
Like I swear
how
I've been
did I
doing
do
this for a while.
Exactly, man. We all
Yeah.
want the glory, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to be that guy that's like
Mm.
holding the biggest fish or selling out, or we've all had those, at least I have, totally unwarranted but like day fantasies of like being a
Yeah.
rock star or something or
Oh, man,
Yeah.
playing Red
we've
Rocks. Exactly.
exactly, yeah, we've all
Yeah.
thought of that, but it's
Yeah.
like then you have to remember all that it takes to get to that moment,
Yeah.
and that's where we are one.
Yeah. Mitchie's quite a little musician too.
Oh,
Yeah.
as I see, dude, the
Nah,
guitar is sitting right there.
beautiful piece. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I got
gorgeous.
it's
Yeah. I think music means obviously a lot to a lot of people, but all three of us play, and I
yeah.
just kind of had a thought as we were talking because you've had Colby on and you had Adam from Horseshoe
Yeah, Adam
Hand
Grule,
Grenades. That was
great
episode
guy.
2. Yeah,
Mm.
that was a fun episode. You guys were slamming fish, dude.
Dude,
You guys were slamming fish,
I'll
dude.
revisit. I don't want to derail your thoughts, so I'll revisit it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was
So
sick.
I was thought, like I play guitar, Mitch plays guitar, you play guitar. These guys, are of a certain, musical ilk. I wonder, do you have obviously, acoustic guitar and images of the river and people fly fishing kind of go hand in hand. Do you
Totally.
want to push that a little bit? And like, do you see yourself like, I don't know, finding a jazz musician or somebody who plays in in an orchestra and explore that? Because I think I like this. I love the series, and I would do the same thing. I'd start gravitating towards like music I play. But
Yeah,
do you see yourself kind of pushing yourself into maybe an area of music or fishing that maybe you don't normally listen to or fish?
dude. I appreciate you asking that too, because so far
I'm
when we
also don't want to
have
make assumptions. Like I'm sure you listen to a lot of different types of music. I'm just
no,
saying,
no,
like,
no, you're
yeah,
good.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
good. And obviously like being, I'm a white boy from Pennsylvania. Like I grew up on bluegrass and folk music. Like let's be
right.
real. That's what I naturally gravitate towards. But what we wanted, and especially like when I was first thinking about what this series was going to become, we didn't want this to be like white guys go fishing, right?
Right.
Naturally, I think there's probably a larger margin of crossover when it comes to like people who play country music or
Right.
whoever they are, whatever they look like,
Yep.
and people who fish. Like that's kind of a pool that shares a lot of the same people. But yeah, we are definitely very intentional about like while this is the substance right now, we want to make sure we're including people from like different musical and ethnic and all that those backgrounds. Like I think someone like Goth Babe, who has been in the spotlight before, I think like Alabama Shakes, Brittany Howard. She's someone who fishes who we'd love to have on the show. There's
Imagine, like,
so
pulling out the first chair violinist from the London Philharmonic and going to a chalk stream in
Yeah.
London or something.
Yes.
Like, that'd be like amazing.
exactly, dude. So like
Some wicked trumpet player from like New York City, who, like crazy jazz scene, but is a wicked dry fly angler. It's like,
yeah,
whoa,
and
that's
like
cool.
jazz and fly fishing, right? That's already a thing.
Yeah.
Like I can't say that.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
the Lamel guys will come over to America and get me, but that's the dream is, and that's the beauty of this whole thing is because like, well, guitar sure is very like associated with fishing. Like all music and in all walks of life can also be
Yeah.
correlated, and fishing, like just like trout fishing is not the only type of fly fishing. There's you can do it anywhere, really. Anywhere there's water you can fish, just like with any musician you can make, or with any musical instrument you can make music.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's definitely something we want to explore in the future of the series.
Yeah, it's cool.
What was one of your favorite parts of putting this series together? Was it finding musicians or picking places? Or sorry, I'll ask this first. How did you pick where to fish with these people? Was it mainly based on their tour dates?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's also how we picked like when. I
Yeah.
will say it's so funny. I was like talking to a potential partner of the series yesterday, and I was like, why I chose to work with musicians on this series, I do not know.
Yeah.
Trying to
It's the
schedule.
dumbest decision ever. Because
That's
like
a tough one.
everyone we talked
logistics.
to has been so nice, but yeah, they're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
like no worries. I have one open day on a Wednesday in December. So if we can do it then, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm on a world tour. It's like
yeah.
tight. Probably
Great.
not going to be able to pull that off.
Great.
But yeah, the locations also are based on like a myriad of things. Like our local area, we have so many fisheries. So like it's
Right.
always fun to bring people out to familiar fisheries and be able to kind of like guide them,
Right. Yeah.
show them around, show them what we love. And then like going to Michigan actually was a suggestion. One of the partners for the series is Bell's Brewery, and they are based out of Michigan, so they really wanted to champion that. And Adam is from the Midwest, so it was just like on a whim. We were like, let's do it, dude. You want to go to the UP in the middle of December?
Yeah.
Somehow it worked out. I don't know how.
I want to go to the UP in the middle of December if that's what the fishing's like.
Dude, it was so sick. I swear to you, though, the morning we were leaving, so the day after we wrapped filming, a storm rolled in and it was like -40. Like we couldn't stand outside of the house. Like walking to the trucks was treacherous.
Oh my god.
So we got so lucky.
Very lucky because it looked quite mild.
Oh, it was total. Yeah, it was like 40 degrees. It was great. And the
It's
guides
awesome.
were great. And you
Oh,
know,
dude, they were great. Yeah, they're
the
good
best
personalities.
guys. Yeah, yeah.
Got that cigar. What's his name? Had the cigar like just
Yeah,
in the corner of his
Chris.
mouth the whole time.
Yeah, shout out Caddyshack Guide Service.
So
Chris.
jovial, you know.
So funny, man. Such good guys.
Yeah.
Very Midwestern.
Yeah. Before we get into Mitchie's Fishies 5, is there any like project, or maybe it's with this one with the music of fly fishing, like that your just like absolute dream would be to go to like this place or do this or meet this person, or
Oh man,
I'm sure you got tons.
Yeah, dude. The list is endless. I think well, I'll start with music and then I have like my ultimate fantasy. But we are shooting. Well, I guess I'll say that for the end. But ideally, like being able to get with like a really big country star or bluegrass star, like like Billy Strings, or being able to fish with like a guy like Zach Top, or like Dave Simonet from Trampled by Turtles. I've talked with him a good bit. Like
that'd be
people
cool.
like that, being able to get out on the water, somewhere in like the Boundary Waters or something like that. Do a canoe trip, full circle. would be so rad. So that's like dream scenario for this series, which like we're definitely going to be trying for. Hopefully this podcast will age well, and that will happen eventually.
Yeah.
And then like dream trip, dude. So Kayla and I are both Scottish. Like we're very proud of our Scottish heritage. I've tried to keep a little bit of red in my beard before I shaved it for this, but
Mitchie got engaged in
Donaldson.
Scotland.
Scotland
That's
rocks,
right,
man.
dude. That's
Scotland's the
right.
best. Yeah, that's
Oh
the
my
best.
gosh. So yeah, we want to go out there and
Yeah.
like do the whole thing.
Yeah, Scotland's the best, man. Like you're gonna have a blast. There's so much cool fishing there beyond,
Yeah,
you know,
The
beyond
romance and
just
the
that.
beers.
I've been there once before with my family, and so I've gotten the taste,
Yeah.
and so I really, once we're all hitched up and proper,
Yeah,
you know, we're gonna save the honeymoon fund and hopefully get out there.
Nice.
that's awesome.
Sooner
Oh,
rather than later.
I love
I
that.
love it.
Yeah.
This podcast comes out April 15th, and we all know that people only listen. Every single one of our listeners listens to it the second it comes out,
Obviously.
right? Obviously.
Yes.
But that should line up with the timing of episode 3, if I'm not correct.
We
if I'm
will,
not mistaken, I mean.
We will be
Ish.
shooting, actually. So we'll be wrapping episode 3 with, I think I'm allowed to say it now because we just locked the contract. We'll be wrapping with a guy, JD Clayton.
Very cool.
Check him out. He has the voice of an angel. It's like molasses in your ears, except good. Except not sticky and
It's like
terrible.
less bees.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we'll be filming with him and rapping, I think, the day prior to this coming out.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Probably late May, be on the lookout for episode 3 of Music and Fly Fishing.
Oh, I guess that prompts another question. Like, I guess there's no hard and fast release schedule. It's just going to be an ongoing thing, which is
For right
which is
now,
cool.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of just a rolling deal. Again, we have to be liquid because
musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever we can nail them down, that's kind of when this stuff gets done.
That's really
cool.
cool.
I mean, that's great that it's like open like that. So you can
I love that.
produce
And
it,
then every once in a while, you get a really cool episode with a
Yeah.
musician you might really love. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
Versus like something like, Flavor on the Fly, which you were part of that.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of producing that,
Yeah.
which was also working with like Max
that
Erickson.
spoke to me big time.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max and Jackson Smith who edited that, and of course Ranga.
Of course,
and Jared was a big part of that. But yeah, that was such a fun series to work on. Hopefully more of that comes soon. A little tease.
Yeah,
but
there we go.
Yeah.
Right on.
Wicked.
Right on. I think there is something really cool about, I feel I haven't fully developed this theory yet, but it's something that I'm kind of working with. There's been this, what I will call the Bear Grylls-ification of outdoor enjoyment, where it seems like everybody who does it needs to be like a pro.
Totally.
And you need to remember that for a lot of people, most people that aren't, people who work in fly fishing day to day, and even very talented musicians or very talented chefs or whatever, it's a hobby for people, and it's an escape and it's a release. Like, not everybody works in this industry. In fact, very few people do.
Yeah.
So I think it's like really, I think it's really cool to remember that, for a lot of people, this is just fun. It's still fun for me. I'm not saying it's not fun.
100%.
But, like there's been
I deal with the same thing.
There's too much of a focus on like the perfect cast, or like, you're doing that and this, and like, he's not wearing the latest, whatever Patagonia whatever's, and like, what do you mean you don't know what lens color to wear, and you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think it's really nice to, when you do projects like this, like Music and Fly Fishing, or
Flavor.
Oh my God, Flavor on the Fly. You have these extraordinarily passionate people that have, dedicated their lives to a certain thing, who also fly fish. And I always love learning about those types of people, because you're like, whoa, David Beckham fly fishes?
Totally, man.
And it almost makes him more interesting or something, like
Definitely.
This guy, Josh Crumpton, who has been like an educator to me, he's down in Texas, really cool guy, but he kind of gave me this quote of like how he structures fly fishing storytelling, which I hope I'm allowed to say it. I think so. But he always gave this example. He's like, the way to actually reach people is, if you are, say you're really into astronomy, this is like verbatim from his mouth. You're really into astronomy. Like, yeah, you could spend days like watching like videos about like, the stars and shit on YouTube and the really complex stuff that you kind of already know and you're already associated with. But the thing that's going to get you really fired up is if you watch a movie and it's about, it's a rom-com, based out of Chicago. Nothing to do with it. But the main character is an astronomer, and he mentions it once. You're going to be like, oh, that, what's that meme from that Quentin Tarantino movie? He's like,
oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, that's what you're going to get really fired up on. And I took that to heart because, like, it's fun seeing people who you're like, you haven't seen before associated with your thing. And then you see them, these people that a lot of people respect that have a spot, like, that are famous in a way.
Mhm.
And then they're like, yeah, I like doing the thing that you do too. And that's where you're,
Yes.
the electrons in your brain send the happy juice forward.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, that's really cool. So, that's what we also want to be able to provide to non-fly fishing audiences as well, who they may have dabbled a little bit, in fishing and, people who are like sick of seeing Mr. Flylords in front of the camera for the 100th time. Like, we can take a back seat and let these people be the focal point and give people a real trip.
Yeah, if you're a Colby Acuff fan and you had no idea that you liked fishing, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, what a cool window into their personality,
Which I was for years, dude. I loved his music. I listened to it. And then I like saw something he posted on a story when we were first doing this. And it was him like fishing. And I hopped on the Flylords account. I was like, hey, do you fish? He's like, yeah, I used to be a guide. And I was like, cool. We need to get on a phone call right now. And he was dude, all these guys that we've worked with so far have just been the biggest chillers, like down to earth people. That's like cool. Selling out like big shows, and they're still the coolest people. But yeah, I had that experience with him. So it was really cool.
That's wild, man. Be a fan of somebody, listen to their tunes, and then get to make something with them. It's the dream.
Totally, man. Yeah. That has been a dream come true. Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Okay, let's switch into Mitchie's Fishies 5. Same 5 questions.
Yeah, we've been chatting for about an hour. This is awesome.
It's the same 5 questions we ask every single guest at the end of the show. I'm going to ask you them right now. And the first one. What is your favorite fish and why? If you had to pick a fave fish, what would it be?
Ooh. Man, it varies by whatever day of the week it is, but I think ultimately the Arctic char.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Char, man. I just think from a very young age, I've had it just like drilled into me, like on a neurological level, like with brook trout, obviously being like Pennsylvania's fish, and our subspecies of char. And I've always been so fascinated about how a fish that lives in a creek that might be like littered with garbage can be so beautiful. And it have like these crazy, the worm marks and the spots and have all this design. And then funny enough, full circle, when I did that trip to Hudson's Bay, I didn't realize it at the time. And I kick myself for it every single day. But I got home and then started seeing people posting pictures of like these bright pumpkin seed color, like Arctic char they're pulling out of like, these tributaries out of like a Moyak and Kujuarpik. And it's like, damn. So I think from there, my like intrigue and fascination grew, and I just dove into learning about these species. And then in Alaska a couple of years ago, I had a chance to catch like a dolly, which like a good one too, that like blew my mind how beautiful it was. And then got on a trip to Sweden, I think like 2-3 years ago, caught a landlocked Arctic char, which was like also incredible, very small one. But yeah, so like that they're just so beautiful, man. Like they're like designed by some greater architect or something, because it's just like, how can something wild look that beautiful?
They're gorgeous. Gorgeous fish.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love it. Okay, if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's going to be the best fishing trip of your life, where would you go?
And we know you're going to say Temagami, so like the other one.
Dude, Temagami always was the best fishing trip of my life. I mean, just kidding. It sucks. Don't go there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's unoriginal, but I got to say Scotland. I feel
like
if it's going to be the best fishing trip of my life, like swinging on the River Spey for salmon, like yeah, definitely.
Definitely that's a good answer, because it's like you're guaranteed to catch fish. It's like, well, obviously that.
Yeah, guaranteed. Seychelles, GT,
Yeah.
giant. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think Scotland. I definitely think Scotland.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3 is, what is one of your favorite or best fishing memories of all time?
Ooh, damn, that is tough. That is really tough.
The mems.
You know what? I
Just digging into the
think.
memes.
Well, obviously, every time I go out to fish with my soon-to-be wife is my favorite.
There you go.
But outside of that,
What did you do?
but outside of that,
Yeah.
I think when I was first learning, and this was up in Canada, this was in Quebec.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I'm thinking there's just so many. Yeah, I'll stick with this one.
Tons.
Up in Canada, we kind of, the way that like these trips work, the like structure of it is like every person is assigned to like kind of a crew. So like one night you're washing pots, one night you're cleaning plates, one night you got to like take down camp at night, one night, you know, you're going into the woods and cutting down a tree and then splitting it for firewood. And this guy who I mentioned earlier, Robbie Tessar, he also loved fishing, and he saw it in me that I had like this insane, like insatiable passion. And so he was like, he pulled it. I was definitely not favored at the time amongst my fellow canoe trippers, but he was like, hey, we're introducing a new crew and it's called Fish Crew. And Donaldson's going to go take it. And I was like, what the hell? He's like, here's my fly rod. Go catch a fish for dinner. So I was like, this is insane. Like, I should be doing chores. This is messed up. But of course I went. Yeah. And he like kind of came out with me. He's like, yeah, here's how you set this up. Like, here's how you set this bug up. And, you know, eventually everyone kind of finished their chores and I'm fishing and he's coaching me. And then, one of our guys, Greg, he came down and immediately hooked this like beautiful brook trout out of the river. This is like, we're camping on top of this like rapid. Yeah. So he hooks this giant brook trout, fat, like beautiful. There's so abundant too. So we were going to eat it. So we kept it. And then my buddy Jack came down and he caught another one, like gorgeous brook trout.
Wow.
And then my other buddy came down and he caught one too.
Jesus.
And these guys all have like these beautiful brook trout on stringers, like, again, very sustainable harvest. Yeah. I'm like, damn, like I was supposed to be fishing. So finally I jump in there and I'm throwing and they're like, yeah, just put it in there. And I throw it and I hook up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's the ugliest walleye you've ever seen, like beat up. It was big, but it was so ugly. And so like, it was so fun, like laughing my ass off, looking at these beautiful brook trout that these guys were holding. And then I have my like monstrosity of a whitefish, but yeah, I remember like sitting there and just laughing and getting eaten alive by mosquitoes and being just like so grateful for the chance to be in a wild place and catching fish. And we had like a huge fish fry that night. And
awesome.
We eat like animals up there.
Of course, yeah.
And so like eating all that was so fun. The walleye tasted amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that was like when I was like, yeah, there's something really special about fly fishing. So that's definitely a memory I hold true.
I like it. Well, it leads well into the next question too, which is simply, why do you fly fish?
Oh man, another great question. You guys are really good at this. I think it's for a lot of reasons. I think it's a lot about connections. I think I mainly fish for connections, and that's, you know, a connection with the land, like being able to step out into something that's not even so wild anymore. You know, you're close enough to a highway where I fish, but like feeling the water around your feet and the earth beneath your feet and the birds and the trees and nothing but like, you know, the water flowing is very grounding. And I know that's not exactly an original take, but it's very true. And there's also a part of me that obviously my relationship and, you know, with Kayla is very built on fishing too. So that's a common ground for us where like it's something we'd love to do together and something that we really like appreciate about one another and where we find avenues to experience things together. And then, you know, also it's a connection to my dad and my brother, who I think about every single time I'm on the water. Just like
Mhm.
I wish I was with those guys right now. Like, I love them so much. But I just, think about my dad trying to teach me how to cast, and
Mhm.
my brother teaching me, like, here's when to throw a woolly bugger, and here's when to throw, a parachute Adams, and me just being like, you're stupid, you're a young idiot, and you don't know what you're talking about. And now it's just like something we all, we send fish pics to each other every single time we go out and catch something. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just using that as a form of connectivity. And
Yeah.
honestly, canoe tripping too, like, it brings me back to that because it's
Yeah.
so based in that. So yeah, I would say the main reason that I fly fish is for connectivity.
Connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I like
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Great
that's
answer.
Yeah. Very, very good answer. Yeah, there's something about like fishing too, just like to add on to your point about like when you're in the river and stuff, like you could just be an observer and that's fun. Like when you're just
Mhm.
there hanging out. But like when you start fishing, you're like part of the food chain in a way, like you're part of the
Yeah.
ecosystem now. And it's like,
Become an animal again.
yeah, it's like a cool thing to like take part in that. Like I'm not just standing here, like I'm kind of part of the ecosystem all of a sudden,
And you're number
It's
fucking one.
exactly.
Sorry.
With the big gap on the chest, baby.
Yeah, big dog.
But it was funny to that point. My brother and I overlapped 2 years at University of Delaware.
Mhm.
I went on to sell Instagram ads, and he is now studying veterinary medicine at Cornell. So
Oh, cool.
clearly, we turned out the exact same in terms of how proud our parents are of us.
Yeah.
Come on.
But it was funny. We would go out to the local creek and we'd walk around, like, try and fish. And we had a moment of realization, like, if you saw us and the only thing we were missing was our fishing rods, you would think we were the weirdest little creeps out there, like just running around the river and like picking up rocks and
Yeah.
like,
The bugs,
just
look at the bugs.
wandering
you're
through
like,
the
"Look at
woods.
this bug."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's some bugs flying in the air. I'm gonna try to catch one. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just like, so then you
It's a
put a
funny
rod in
thing.
your hand. It's like, oh, you're good.
You're good.
Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
weird. Like, that's
Yeah.
normal now. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's funny that we have to find that little excuse to like go outside. But
Yeah.
hey, if that's what it takes,
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
excuse.
Big time. Okay, number 5, Mitchie's Fishies 5. The last question is, if you were a fly, what would you be? What fly pattern best represents you and why?
Let's see, man. That's tough. Because again, I love to like tie flies. So like my obsession definitely like changes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I think what I'd have to say is I'm gonna relate this back to my old man again, but I was telling you he's really stubborn with his flies. He always fishes a muddler minnow. So
Classic.
by that
Yes.
property, that means probably if I'm a byproduct of him, not to be weird, I'm probably a muddler minnow, but like picture myself as a muddler minnow tied by someone who's tied a fly like once or twice before. So it's like the deer hair sticking out, like the tail kind of pointing the wrong way, and the wraps like uneven and kind of fucked up. Like, I would say that's the fly that I am, and I'm very proud to be, because
A
those
wonky
flies
muddler minnow.
sometimes catch fish.
I like it. Of course they do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it,
Yeah.
man.
Let
Well,
me
that's
ask you
Mitchie's
guys.
Fishies, man.
Let me
Yeah.
Mitchie's fishies in return. What
Yeah.
flies would you guys be? Because I feel like you're always asking.
Yeah.
What would you be?
I think it's at one point I said just like a parachute Adams, or just an Adams, just like a regular Adams,
Okay.
Just nice fluffy little how's you do.
I used to say an sable wolf
Yeah, you sticking with that?
because I'm kind of furry and I float like a cork. But I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think we could change our answers too.
I think we can change our answers
Yeah.
eventually, but I for some reason I still just really love that fly. Like, I mean, we grew
It's an
up
awesome fly.
our trout fishing. We grew up in Ottawa. I feel like I say this every show. People who actually listen to every show must be like, okay, we get it. You're from Ottawa. But we,
Ottawa pride, man.
our trout fishing happened, or in streams anyway. We would go
Yeah.
to the Ausable and the
Mhm.
Lake Placid tribs and stuff like that. So I was just using that fly a lot, and I love that fly. I still love that fly so much.
Yeah.
I would say I'm sticking with a sable wolf. I like all the wolves. Royal wolf.
I always wanted to say Lady
Oh,
Caroline.
Sable Wolf.
I always wanted to say
White
Lady
Wolf.
Caroline because I
Yeah.
thought it was so much cooler. Like Lady Caroline's like, that's a cool pattern, man. That's my
That's a
favorite
sick
fly.
name for a fly. Yeah.
It's the coolest name. It's a cool fly.
Mhm.
But
Now you just need to go to the River Spey and catch a salmon on a Lady
Yeah.
Caroline. That would be the coolest thing.
that would be
If
cool.
you guys need someone to go with, feel free to.
yeah,
us
that'd be
know.
pretty sick. Maybe we got to do
Dude,
something there.
God, it'd be so.
I did fish the Tay last fall.
How was that?
It was great. There was so many salmon, dude, and none of them wanted to eat. But
That
they were like
salmon will do
jumping
that.
out of the water,
Yeah.
and they were freaking out. And like, man, I fished it pretty hard, but it was a great day. It was really cool.
Our mutual comrade Nick Kennedy,
Yeah,
he fished the River Spey last year while on a distillery tour. He's like, oh, I'm pretty sure the River Spey runs through
Where
the
is that?
distillery. He's like, and I'm gonna make them get.
And did
me
he
a
do it?
beat.
Did he get on the water?
Yeah. Not only
Yeah.
did he make them give him a beat, he didn't bring any gear. He's like, I'm not flying with any gear because he was coming from
Ireland or
Bangkok,
something?
Mhm.
and he's like, so I won't have any gear, but I demand a beat and gear. And they're like, yeah, no problem.
It's amazing.
So
it's the
sick.
same thing. He said he fished the afternoon, was jumping all over the place, and
Yeah.
as if
So-
anybody who's been Atlantic salmon fishing knows, they're a tease sometimes for sure.
Funny enough, my brother and I actually have fished the River Spey.
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
We went there again. I told you we went to Scotland on a family trip.
Yep.
We were young, and I was like just into fly fishing. And dude, here's how that went. We went to the shop. They got us a beat. Like they gave us the baggiest waders you've ever seen in your life. We had both with us Orvis Frequent Flyer 8-weights, which is a 7-piece 8-weight.
Yep.
Awesome.
And floating line. And we tied like 20-pound
Frequent
leader directly off of it. And then I think he tied like their version of like a stonefly nymph, and I tied a tarpon bunny because I literally was like, this looks like a fly.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. So this looks like a fish. And we were literally throwing our one-hand rods like, 10 feet off the shore. Like that was the furthest cast we could make in the middle of the river with like salmon jumping around all next to us. And like, I think these guys at like a fish camp all dressed up in their Barber jackets and their waders and their duds and $1,000 spay rods, and they were like laughing at us, and we like totally went off the beat by accident, and yeah, it was a mess, dude. It was the most fun I've ever had on the water with him, but it was the
Definitely sounds like
dumbest
a lot
thing
of
in the
fun.
world. We hid like 2 cheeseburgers that we got under like a park bench and came back, and like an animal had gotten into one. It was great.
No, not the cheeseburgers.
I love salmon fishing's the best, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you could call that salmon fishing, whatever that was.
It honestly is though. Like Atlantic salmon
cool.
fishing is just like
it's
I've
very
been
nice.
I'm lucky enough to do it in Nova Scotia and Quebec, and it really is
enjoyable way to
It's really
fish.
an enjoyable way to fish.
Mhm.
To talk going back to your notion of connection, like the way the beat works, whether you're on public water or not, like inherently you have to make connections with people because you're
Yeah,
you're
you need
behind
the-
them or in front of them, and you're taking
Exactly.
steps down. But it's fun. Like at least you get there's always a fire pit. There's always a couple benches, and everyone's just kind of hanging out. And when it's not their turn, and you're just shooting the shit, and it's just a really friendly, easy way to fish. In a
Yeah.
way, like it's not like this intense.
No,
I don't think it's that. Sorry, if it's intense for other people, sorry. Like I don't find
If
it that
it if it
intense.
is for other people, it's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like certainly there's some beautiful casters, and
It's
obviously
enjoyable.
the fly design and fly tying and all of that good stuff. But it is a leisurely day.
Mm-hmm.
You're up early, but you're not walking that
the best
much.
way.
You're swinging flies at a very controlled pace, and it's really nice because it does force you to slow down and think and talk to people. It's fun. I love it. I think it's so great.
I remember going to Sweden, and that was like my first salmon trip. We didn't catch a single salmon.
Yeah.
And doing that whole thing, and like I remember getting there, and like I was young and just so hungry, and the guy was like, he started making coffee on the back.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
Let's go.
I'm trying to go catch a
Let's
fish.
go.
And then he was like, all right, like, I guess I'll step in, and then you, and then you, and then you. And I was like, cool. So I'm not fishing for another hour.
Yeah.
And then like, it was like, okay, let's make more coffee. And I was like fuming, dude. And then finally, like looking back on it, I was like, man, was I just such a little American kid? Like, just gimme, gimme, gimme. Like, I did not appreciate it properly. And yeah, looking back, like it was such a cool experience, and I wish I had valued it
the
more.
guy did say, "I'm going first." So.
That was
Yeah, that's
that was
kinda wild.
interesting. He was like, "I'm gonna test
He's
it
like,
to see if there's any fish
first,
in there." Yeah, he was like, you Americans don't know what you're doing. Like, I'm gonna test it first.
Catches a fish. He's like, "They're
no,
here."
actually, Wills, you'll be going after me. Yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
won't be going.
I go
I've
first.
seen your cast. You're going.
I've seen your
to
cast. I'm going
salmon.
first. Yes.
That's like
By the way,
Eastern German, I guess. But
Swedish listeners, we love you. Don't get us wrong.
we love you guys. Let us come back to your country, please.
I love it.
It's awesome. But yeah, no, it is I think I love that sentiment of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's so many, so many instances of that on a day on the water and stuff. So
Yeah, and I think we need more connection just as a species. We're all
big
very like, we pretend to be interconnected with these
Phones
devils
and stuff,
but
yeah.
we, I think, are the furthest thing from it that we ever have been, and it's nice to be able to revert back to our original programming here and there.
Big
yeah,
time,
totally.
man.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of original programming, what can people expect next from?
Keep doing it. It just keeps happening.
This guy's good.
This guy's good.
What can the people expect next from Flylords? It's time to promote, and
Shameless
plug whatever you
plug.
want.
Shameless plug.
Love it. Well, I think by the time this is coming out, we will be just getting ready to air our first episode of Fly Shop Tour Season 3.
Woo! Those are
the
always so
Northeastern
fun.
Tour. We worked really hard on it. It was a grind. I fully went back to Pennsylvania in this series and embarrassed myself. So please, home state, don't hate me.
Junior was on that with you guys, right?
Who?
Junior?
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just said Juder.
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 Junior's a big part of that series. He helps us out a lot with that. So, go and watch that. That'll be coming out on a weekly basis, and then keep an eye out for episode 3 of Music and Fly Fishing with JD Clayton coming sometime in May. Probably as soon as Fly Shop Tour's over.
Oh, that's rad. That's amazing. And actually, a little shameless plug on my behalf. One of my favorite things you've ever done, or Flylords has ever done, I should say, is after you're gone, going back to like the Osable Lake Placid thing. So if nobody has ever watched that, I would suggest you do, because it's such a great piece, and I think it's one of the strongest pieces Flylords has ever put out. So you guys should be really proud of that.
We are. That's definitely like the benchmark of, we haven't submitted a F3T film since, and I'm here saying thank you. Like, I didn't really do any work on it. Like Max Erickson, Jared Zissou, Joseph Burney, like those guys, Zento, Jackson, those guys like busted their butts to make that film come to life. And obviously Rachel Finn, who let us like tell her story and was very vulnerable and is like the most badass, awesome woman to ever live. Thank you for plugging that, because definitely if you have not seen it and you are in the mood to cry, go check it out.
Yeah, great flick. Wills, thank you. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a great chat. It was really fun.
Thank you so much for letting me ramble and talk your ears off. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No, it was great. We covered a lot.
It
was awesome.
Definitely did.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wills.
Thanks,
awesome.
Man.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see you. And that was Wills Donaldson.
What a cool guy. I mean, so random that we met not random that we met at the fly fishing show, but within seconds we were talking about canoeing in Temagami.
Temagami, I know.
How weird is that? It's like, oh, the Flylords
really
guy?
Weird, because Temagami has been such a big thing for us, and we meet some feller in Colorado, and he's got tied to not just Ontario. Like, if it was Toronto's one thing, like Southern Ontario, Temagami.
Good point. Yeah,
a lot of people in friggin' Ontario that don't go to Temagami. And the fact that he did like all of those crazy canoe routes that our friend Eric at Temagami Outfitting Co. obviously had mentioned so many times. It's
pretty amazing, cool. Really.
Yeah. Will's great. Super nice guy and very interesting backstory.
And a very good angler. I've got to share the boat with him in Mexico. And
in Ascension Bay, right?
In Ascension Bay. And for a day, really, really great angler. We had tough conditions, but That guy can cast. And it was just such a fun day. We had such a fun day. Such a fun, a lot of jokes, a lot of laughing.
He's a funny guy. Yeah, well, it was a great chat we had with him. Will, thanks for coming on the show. Much appreciate. And maybe we'll get fishing sometime. I have to have you up here and we'll hit the water. Maybe even a paddle trip to the wilderness.
Tackle Temagami.
Yeah, that might be fun too. Just go back to Temagami with them. What do we got going on? Trout season's opening up soon. As we said earlier in the front half of the show, Sotos is this Saturday, April 19th at 7 p.m. at 1 Golden Avenue. Come to that. And then the following weekend, we're in Muskoka talking to Jim Bear, doing a live show. But that's when trout opens in Southern Ontario.
So Sunday, me and you are hitting the water.
Yeah. We got to fit. We got to fosh.
I wonder if there's like some secret trout thing
Muskoka?
that Jim knows about in Muskoka that we can... Or
That's a
even
good
not
question.
Secret.
Wait, that's a good
doesn't have to be
question.
a secret. There just has to be trout.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's freaking cold still here. Like this spring is coming in like a little lamb.
I'm honestly I'm for it in terms of like the longevity of our trout season. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, but May 1st is gonna hit, and it's just
gonna be hot anyway.
Hot, yeah,
yeah, true. It's
just
pretty hot right now.
It's just that we're not getting a spring. It's just gonna go from winter to some. Which, hey, that's just gonna make summer awesome. But I'm just getting over it, man. Like I'm shaking over here. I'm so cold. Ooh.
Well, I'll tell you where I wasn't cold.
Ooh, Mexico. How was it?
Oh, dude, it was awesome. Speaking of, mentioned Wills and I spent some time in Ascension Bay. Well, I was in Ascension Bay.
You and David from Very Good Fly Fishing.
Correct. This was supposed to be part of Kayla's annual hosted trip.
Kayla Lockhart, Wills Donaldson's fiance.
Yes.
It's all connected.
Wow, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And David and I had made plans to do a little social campaign for Topo and their new sun line.
Which is Will's company. He owns Topo. No.
Imagine. But yeah, Kayla and David actually are both Topo brand ambassadors, and David needed my help with wanted my help with with getting some content. And then Kayla was like, actually the trip's not going to happen because my passport expired. And David and I already got all these approvals from Topo, and we were like, uh-oh.
Oopsie-doodles.
So, reached out to Kayla and said, hey, is it okay if I reach out to Ascension Bay Lodge?
Yeah.
To see if we can still go. And she was like, of course, no problem. And she,
Yeah.
And I was like, emailed Danny, who's awesome. And he said, yeah, come on down. And he said, if any of your friends want to come, obviously Kayla's trip isn't happening, so there's room. But we couldn't find anybody else.
That's why Danny is the Manny, eh?
That's what I say about Danny pretty often, yeah. I say he's the Manny.
So the place was empty when you guys were down there. It was just you
It was so interesting. Like,
because they were in between.
Yeah, there was supposed to be... I actually kind of felt bad in a way because we got there and Danny's obviously there to welcome us. Firstly, we landed in Tulum. In the new Tulum airport was just amazing because normally you land in Cancun.
Really?
Which, if anybody's landed
airport?
in Cancun, it's a bit hectic of a airport. Let's just put it that way.
Tulum airport's brand new.
It's so beautiful, dude.
Really?
It's so calm.
It's like a spa.
Honestly, yes.
Sick.
Yeah, it's like brand friggin' new, dude.
Okay, well, rock and roll.
Yeah, it's really...
How far of a drive is it to where they pick you up at Ascension Bay?
So, of course, Danny's operation is dialed. So we get there. There's somebody, a car waiting for us with my, name on a placard, which is always cool.
That's awesome.
And then they drive you to where the boats pick you up, and then they boat you into the lodge. And instead of the hour and a half ish, maybe 2 hour drive from Cancun, it was like 20 minutes to the boats. 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Oh, from the airport?
From the airport, yeah, to the boats, and then the boat ride's about 40 minutes.
So Ascension Bay is not far from Tulum.
No,
I never put those dots. I never connected those dots. I guess I never tried.
Well, I guess you never listen to us.
I definitely have a problem with that.
Guess you never listen to me and Yilma.
I thought it was. I
don't blame you.
I thought it was like in like Chile or something. I didn't have no idea it was even Mexico.
You actually technically weren't that far from it when we were in Belize.
Right. Well, that's good. And so you guys roll up and had a splendid
So
few
sorry.
days.
So Danny meets us. The boats take us in. We see these. Oh man, it was awesome ride. I mean, this is David's first. David is spending the month of April in the Florida Keys with his van.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm tired of being cold, much like you, Mitch. He's like, we're just gonna jam the van.
Hey, lives in a van.
Down to Isla Morada.
It's the perks right there.
He's like, what should I do? I was like, well, if I was you, I would just spend it in Florida, either in the Everglades or the Keys, and just bang tarpon.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And whatever else you can catch. And he was like, okay. And he found an RV park in Isla Morada.
Oh, sick.
And his neighbor has a flats boat and has been like, is a retired guy.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But it's pretty amazing. Like, his neighbor has a flats boat, is a retired guy, and knocks on David's door every day to be like, you want to go fishing?
Oh, that's sick.
That's so awesome. So he's got like a 65-year-old fishing buddy.
Oh, that's a great plan. That's that's an awesome.
But anyway, regardless of that, this was David's first saltwater trip.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were shooting, so there's other considerations, but whatever. We get to, we get on the boat. We're taking the boat ride into the lodge. There's dolphins jumping by the boat. It was like sea turtles everywhere. It was awesome. Awesome. It's such an awesome way to get to a lodge.
Yeah, because
like it's surrounded by wildlife. Because you're in the San Can Wilderness Preserve, which is one of the larger, I guess you could call it a national park. Marine biosphere in North America or Central America, depending on where you think Mexico exists in. Yeah, and then Danny got there and he's like, actually, it kind of worked out because they've been booked solid since Christmas. And he said the guides never had a week off. So a lot of the guides actually were spending the week with the family. So I felt kind of bad for the guy that had to stick behind and take us out. And then the chef too stayed behind. But it was just me.
Sorry.
I was like, oh, sorry. It was just me, Danny. It was me, David, and then even Danny took his family into Tulum to he's like, oh, I got to take my kids to the dentist and all this stuff.
Right.
And so it's just me, David, Danny's buddy Mike, who was like he was like kind of the de facto property manager. Super cool dude. He's guided all around the world. He's 43. He's guided all around. He's guided in the Pacific Northwest. He's hosted trips in Alaska. He's from New Mexico originally, but lives in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school in Texas. He's just lived a really big life of fly fishing, and he was such a great host. I'm like, if you're listening to this, I can't thank you enough. Yeah. So much fun. I called him. I was like, he was kind of like fly fishing Harrison Ford.
That's cool.
He's like a really cool dude and really well spoken. And spent I think the first night just picking his brain about flies because he was just tying up all these awesome
patterns.
I think I've got one here. All these strong arm crabs for the permit.
Oh yeah.
And because that's the hot fly down there right now.
Strong arm crab.
Strong arm crab. And which is cool. So we were talking about fly design and we learned a lot from Mike and we had a great time. I thought he'd be sick of us by the end of it because we're obnoxious, but it was great. And then we
had fun.
We had so much fun. Conditions were a bit tough, but we caught fish. David caught his first bonefish.
Nice.
He broke off a tarpon.
Sick.
I landed a couple tarpon. It was great.
Yeah.
Landed some bonefish. Didn't really see many permit. Saw one tailing, but didn't really have a shot at it.
Yeah. Any cuda, any jack?
Dude, we saw an absolute unit of a cuda.
Yeah.
But couldn't get it to go. Yeah, we landed some juvenile tarpon. There was one exciting moment where we were pulling a flat and 2 migratory tarpon showed up over the reef.
Yeah.
And the guide had me jump out and run after them with him.
Why?
He's like, well, because the boat, he wasn't going to be able to
pull. Okay. I thought you meant like he wasn't the goal of like jumping on them and catching them.
No. He wasn't going to be able to pull the boat.
Yeah. It's like run after with your rods.
Yeah.
I don't know why my head went to like
we're just going to tackle these tarpon.
Run it down. Jump on them. Yeah. I don't know why that's where my head went.
But that was an interesting experience. So just sprinting after tarpon.
Swimming tarpon.
Yeah. We caught up to them. They just kept moving away, though. Like, unfortunately,
Yeah.
they didn't like
They were cruising.
cruise. They didn't cruise in a direction where we could get a shot at them.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
But that was
Just
really
seeing them's
fun.
cool.
And
Yeah.
then, it was a great time. Ascension Bay Lodge rocks. If anybody's interested, info@sofly.ca. I could make
Give
the
me some
connection.
deets.
I think that place is so well run. And
Yeah.
and Ascension Bay is legendary, of course, in terms
course.
of a fly fishing destination.
But of course.
Well, that's it, man. That's all I got.
Nice.
What are you doing?
I need to inject coffee into my brain with a syringe.
What are you
Right now.
hopeful for this season?
Just to be alive so I can do it.
Oh my god, dude!
I'm just trying to stay alive, man. Honestly, like I don't need anything crazy to happen. Just don't die.
Don't die. Okay. Well,
I just want to see the sun again. I want to enjoy a hatch.
Mm.
I want to stand in the river with the
Wow.
water between my legs, and I want to laugh with you, baby. Down by the riverside. I don't need anything crazy to happen. I mean, yeah, I'm just excited to have the year start, man. Like
With my
frick.
waders around my legs
My boots on to my feet.
and the sun up in the sky
That's
and
all
the
I need.
trout sipping free.
That's all I need, man. Maybe a cup of Bergs. Extra cheese will do. I'm also kind of hungry.
Fly
It's
fishing.
like 5:30. I need a coffee.
Fly
I need some dinner.
fishing for me and you. Well, cool. A song to wrap up the music and fly fishing episode, I guess.
True. There you go. Yeah, no, I'm jacked. That spring is just about here. Just about here. Almost there. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Thank God, season's back. We can get out on the water.
Hell yeah,
Just be
brother.
outside. It's gonna be great. But I mean, the thing I'm most excited for right now is Sotos because it's so
Yes.
close, and it is going to be a great one this year.
Yeah, and we've, dude.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be sick.
Dude, it's
going
gonna
to be
sick.
sick.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Coup d'etat, 7 p.m., April 19th, 1 Golden Avenue, Toronto. Be there. And get ready to donate because we got to raise 50 grand this year. Or else our Terrace Streams is going to break our knees. Andrew's like, what the?
Imagine. That'd be.
No. But we do want to raise as much money as we possibly can. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So anyways, let's wrap it up. I think it was a great show. Glad you had fun at Ascension Bay.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm glad that spring is almost here.
Nah.
Thanks for coming on the show, Wills. Everybody, thanks for listening. That's it for me, Mitch Aldo.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Come your head.